What's up, everybody? Hey, almost didn't do it right. It's me, Uncle Mad. I'm here with Nephew P. We're going to see the Batman tonight. How excited are you, Nephew P?
Very excited.
Very excited. We're going to see if the Twilight guy pulled off his transition into becoming a bat from a vampire. That's a bad joke. Let's go see the movie. What'd you say? Oh, cool. You want to just do that instead of seeing the movie?
No.
Okay. This is Nephew P's small Pepsi. It's as big as his head. There's no way he's making it through a 3-hour movie after drinking this sucker. Here we go. Movie theater popcorn review. Movie starts right now. Here we go. Can't beat it. 7.9. Let's get a review on the M&Ms.
Yeah.
Good. Solid review. Right. Just freshly got out of the Batman. Spoiler-free review. What'd you think of the movie?
It was amazing.
Amazing. Save the spoilers for later. I thought it was pretty good. Definitely too long.
Yes.
I think I knew that was probably going to be the case coming in, knowing the runtime was almost 3 hours. Definitely could have shaved 45 minutes off that movie and it would have been much better, but still good. Still very enjoyable. Kept us captivated. Parker, I thought he was going to drop out and go to sleep. This is like 4 hours past his bedtime at this point in time, but he survived. You made it. How'd you do it?
Not good. I keep having to go pee.
Oh, by not having to keep going pee? I don't know what he said there, so I got to get him home. It's way past his bedtime. Oh, I'm not in my car, so I didn't even know where I was going. Gonna take him home, and then we'll add a little bit more to the review with some spoilers and such. But if I had to give it a grade, I would say about a 78, 79, somewhere in that range. So worth seeing. Too long. Spoiler review to come. All right, back home after seeing the Batman, not the Spider-Man. We saw that a while ago. That was really good. I don't think I reviewed that on the channel. We just saw the Batman, me and Nephew P. Before I jump into the spoiler review, I want to hit a few key points on the non-spoiler side of things. Like I said, biggest negative, if I have one, is that it was just too long. Could have easily cut like 45 minutes out of the movie, and I'll get into what I think they should have cut when I get to the spoilers. A few notes. This doesn't spoil anything. Most comic accurate version of Catwoman I think we've seen on the screen. I think rivals Michelle Pfeiffer for best Catwoman, but definitely the best, most comic accurate Catwoman. Colin Farrell as the Penguin is insane. Like, there's no way you would ever in a million years know that was Colin Farrell if you didn't know it was Colin Farrell. Just absolutely mind-boggling that they went to the lengths they did to turn him into what they turned him into. So it was insane. Pattinson Batman, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was kind of weird. It's almost like he kind of struggled to like find his Batman. He's very emo sometimes, and he got that little more angry kind of, almost sounded like towards the end of the movie he was almost doing like a version like the Christian Bale Batman voice, but it was weird. But he's good overall. I think he'd be good to continue as Batman in future Batman movies. Probably. Who knows? But like I said, probably about somewhere between a 77 and a 79 on the percentage scale. Like a B minus, I would say right now upon first viewing. It's coming on HBO Max in only like 45 days, so I'll get a chance to watch it again and give it a second take here in a little while. That being said, that's it. From here on out, there's going to be spoilers. I'm going to talk about specific stuff that happens in the movie, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, don't want it to be spoiled, skip on ahead. But before you leave, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell on for notifications, give the video a thumbs up, all that good stuff. Last chance, spoilers start now. Alright, so jumping right in, like I said, I would have cut about 45 minutes out of the movie. I think you could cut the entire Penguin plot out of the movie, but I can see why they didn't, just because it was so unbelievable what Colin Farrell did as the Penguin. Just like his transformation, bodysuit. I don't know how much of that was like naturally him, how much of that was like prosthetics, but his voice, like it didn't even sound like Colin Farrell. Didn't look like Colin Farrell, didn't sound like Colin Farrell. Kind of don't know why they even bothered casting Colin Farrell if you're going to transform him that much. Unless he was just desperate to do some kind of crazy transformation in a role or something like that, but ultimately the Penguin had nothing to do really with the plot of the movie. He was just kind of there. awesome chase scene when he's getting chased down with the Batmobile. So I don't know, maybe you could have shifted another character in. You either needed to shift the Carmine Falcone character out or the Penguin character out, because the Penguin, I guess, was supposed to be a red herring for Carmine Falcone, but he never just seemed like too obvious that he was a red herring, so it was kind of pointless to have him there. I guess you needed Carmine Falcone because, once again, spoilers, he's Catwoman's father, so there was a whole plot with her connection to him that was tied into the movie, so he probably would have been harder to get rid of than Catwoman, or than Penguin because of that. So if I was going to take anything out, it would have been a lot of the Penguin stuff, or maybe you could have kept some of the stuff and the chase and stuff, but get out the whole midsection where he's a red herring for Carmine Falcone. Just go straight to it being Carmine Falcone. I can't talk anymore. Go straight to it being Carmine Falcone. Also, probably would have cut out at least one of the Riddler murders. There's definitely one too many of those. We had Mayor, Police Commissioner, DA, and then an attempt on Bruce Wayne that ended up knocking out Alfred. So maybe cut out the one with the DA. Probably couldn't cut that out because, once again, they cast a big actor. They had Peter Skarsgård in that role, so probably need to keep him. The Commissioner's death was kind of glossed over, so maybe that was a bigger scene that they actually did cut back. But I mean, we had the point by then that he was going after high-powered people. You didn't need to keep going it. The movie was clearly inspired by The Long Halloween, except the Riddler was in place of whoever ended up being the murderer in The Long Halloween. I think it was like the young Falcone's brother or something like that, but then it was also teased that maybe it wasn't, so who knows. But it was definitely inspired by that, where it's like a mysterious killer killing high-powered people that are connected to this deep history of secrecy within the Gotham City mob. So you definitely see the Long Halloween stuff in there, especially with the Catwoman being connected to Carmine Falcone aspect of it. It was also very, very heavily influenced by Zodiac and Seven, but you kind of knew that coming in, seeing some of the previews, seeing the way they did the Riddler. The version of the Riddler was clearly like, if David Fincher made a Batman movie, this is what the Riddler would be in it. So, which is great. Paul Dano, like, I don't know if you would, what the line is. I'm not like an acting analyst, but I don't know what the line between knocking it out of the park, going all out for it, and just going too far and overacting. But Paul Dano he did not hold back in this role. He gave everything he had to be the Riddler, and it was a very, very interesting portrayal of the Riddler. As far as, like, we talked about, I mentioned earlier that Catwoman was the most comic accurate portrayal of Catwoman we've probably seen in a movie. The Riddler is probably the most different version of any character we've ever seen. It's probably the most... Was Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze more drastically different from the comic books than Paul Dano's Riddler? That's a close one. That's a tough one. But it was very different. I mean, it was just a completely different interpretation, a completely new version of the Riddler, like nothing we've ever seen before. And I liked it. I thought it was interesting to make him like a... kind of like a version of like the Zodiac Killer, as opposed to just like the goofy kind of spinning the cane and the green suit Jim Carrey Riddler, or the comic book Riddler with the green bowler hat and stuff like that. So definitely a different and interesting interpretation of it. Batman himself, like I said, it kind of seemed like Robert Pattinson was kind of finding it through the movie. I didn't like the more emo part of it where he was kind of sad Batman. I wanted him to be like... But that was kind of one of the subplots of the movie, was he's figuring out how to be Batman, which, to be honest, it kind of made me miss that we never got the Ben Affleck Batman movie, because you could say we had it with the Keaton movies, but those were so long ago, it's been so long since we had like a firmly, this is Batman as Batman movie. Like all the Christian Bale movies, Batman Begins, into Dark Knight, he's kind of figuring out his way as Batman. And then by the time we get to Dark Knight Rises, he's given up being Batman for like 10 years and comes back as an old man. So it would have been cool to see the Ben Affleck Batman movie where he's been Batman for a long time. He's got it all figured out. He's more of the fully fleshed out comic version of the Batman that we know, as opposed to like the Christian Bale and now Robert Pattinson Batman, where he's kind of like feeling his way out, trying to figure out exactly what it means to be Batman, exactly how to be Batman. Batman's supposed to be the world's greatest detective. He was kind of stupid in this movie. All the ciphers, Alfred Alfred had to figure them out, and Alfred screwed both the ciphers up. Nobody except the Penguin actually literally called Batman and Alfred idiots for how badly they screwed up one of the ciphers in the movie, which it's not great. And the big final kind of plot that the Riddler had, spoiler alert once again, we've been so much spoilers if you're already here, you've seen the movie, was blowing up some key points around the water around Gotham City to flood Gotham City. Batman only figured out he was going to do that. It was like an episode of House. This you should, like, I loved House, but one of the things that kind of drove me crazy as the show went on was, like, he always figured out what the illness of the week was by something someone randomly said or did, like with like 5 minutes left in the episode. Somebody would be like, huh, well, at least you got a figment. And he'd be like, figment, figment, figment. It's lupus. So the end game, the final plot that Batman somehow never figured out of Riddler's last end game plot, he only figured out because there was a random cop at the Riddler's apartment when Batman was looking at the crime scene to see what he missed, who happened to have a father who laid carpets and was able to point out to Batman that the murder weapon Riddler used in the first murder was a carpet layer's tool for tucking in the carpet, which made Batman look down and go, there's carpet on the Riddler's floor. And he pulls up the carpet and figures out what the final plan was. But he's too late. The flood happens. I wasn't too crazy about that whole last little end sequence. It felt like once the Riddler had been stopped, it was, I don't know, it felt like the movie had kind of lost steam, especially being that long. It kind of had run out of steam at that point in time. It was a cool set piece. Like, they all rush into this arena, which is clearly Madison Square Garden, only it's called Gotham Square Garden. It's the place they're going in to be safe from the flood. I don't know the logistics of that, like why. I feel like if I was going to go anywhere in downtown Nashville during the flood, it would not have been like inside the arena, because the arena's like low to the ground and closed in. I feel like I'd want to go up in like the high rises or something like that. So I don't know why the idea was to funnel everybody into the arena as a safety place from the flood. But the floods came. They had a really cool last little kind of battle sequence. The arena was a good backdrop for it, but it, like I said, kind of felt like the movie had run out of steam at that point in time because it'd been going on for so long. So enjoyed it. Probably didn't sound like I enjoyed it, because the more I talked right there, it sounded like I didn't enjoy it, but I really liked it. I thought it had a lot of good stuff to it. I'm hopeful that, you know, Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson, and the crew are back for a Batman sequel, because, I mean, they kind of set up a nice version of the Batman universe, and they kind of had him sort of find his way as the movie went along, so getting to see him kind of take the next steps forward as a Batman would be pretty cool. I need a Robin. Like, it's so tainted because of Batman and Robin and Batman Forever, but Robin is my favorite comic book character of all time. He's right there. He's with Batman. I mean, and we've just never got a good Robin in the movies, because I think everybody's scared of it. They can't figure out how to make. Everybody wants to do this darkest version of Batman possible in the movies, and they can't figure out how to put Robin in it, because they're like, if we put Robin in, it's just going to be nipples and all the other crap that Joel Schumacher did. But there's a way. I mean, the version of Dick Grayson that's on the Titans TV series right now is actually pretty good. Like, there's a way you could have integrated that type of version of Robin, Dick Grayson, Nightwing into the Christian Bale verse, into the Ben Affleck verse. Obviously, the Ben Affleck Batman had a Robin. We never got to find out what happened to that Robin, because that whole thing went up in smoke. Once again, wish we'd gotten to see the Ben Affleck Batman movie, but there was a lot of allusions to, like, I don't think they were teasing Robin. I think it was just more allusions, because there's a kid who was the mayor's son who was orphaned. Bruce Wayne sees him like 15 times throughout this movie, and they always catch eyes and look at each other, and like, maybe maybe they go away from Dick Grayson. Maybe this kid ends up being Robin in the future movie. I don't know. I'd love to see Robin in the future movie. I'd love to see the whole gang come back together to do another movie, because I think Matt Reeves is going to hear it enough that this one was too long that he'll, you know, figure it out for the second one. And I think by the second one he'll get a lot of his ideas out of the way, because they've got at least, I think, 3 spin-off shows coming to HBO Max. Spin-off there. There's a Penguin show, a show about the Gotham Police Department, and a show about Arkham Asylum, all coming to HBO Max. So hopefully those, he can kind of exercise some of the movie ideas into those and won't have to try to pack as much into a sequel. And he can be a little more condensed, a little bit tighter. Because the story, I could tell what he was trying to do. He was trying to make it a more complex, like a mystery story, very much like Zodiac, very much like Seven, but it was just too bloated. If he tightened it up a little bit, this movie could have been like really, really good. But as it stands, like I said, probably a B, probably a B minus. Still good. Would recommend. Yeah, that's all I've got on this one. I liked it. Thought it was pretty good. We'll watch it again when it comes out on HBO Max. If you saw Batman, the Batman, let me know in the comments down below what were your thoughts on the movie. Subscribe to the channel because I'm probably going to be doing more stuff like this going forward now that there's more movies coming out that I want to see. It felt like we, obviously we didn't have any movies come out for a long time. First movie I went and saw in theaters probably since Tenet was Spider-Man a couple months ago, and I didn't really do a vlog for that. But then with this, with me and Nephew P going, getting the old Marvel Monday band back together, it felt like a good opportunity to try something different on the channel. Go see a movie, come in, review it, give my thoughts, share my thoughts, see what your thoughts are so you can share them with me. So if you enjoyed this, if you want to see more of these, they probably will be coming in the future. I think we've got 3 more DC movies coming this year, 2 Marvel movies at least, maybe more, I don't even know. And maybe I'll just go see some art house movies too, I don't know. I haven't been to the Belcourt in a long time. Maybe it's time I went back there to see some kind of fancy schmancy Wes Anderson or P.T. Anderson movie, so. Subscribe to the channel to see more of that stuff and all the other crap that I do on this channel from time to time. Comment down below, what did you think of the movie The Batman? What would you like to see in future installments of the Batman franchise if this one keeps on rolling? That's all I got. I was trying to think if there was like a Batman catchphrase I could end this with, but I can't think of anything, so we're just done, I guess.